Welcome back to the Morning Dinner Podcast. It's your boy Keem Chuck. Don't forget, before we get into this video,
I want you to subscribe.
And then after you subscribe, go ahead
and after like.
And drop a comment down below.
You got sad.
Today, guys, it is our last episode. Episode 8. Well, last episode. It's our last episode of the month.
There we go.
Of October. And we like to go out with a bang, guys. It's a scary, spoopy season. It's a spoopy season. And we got Brandon Christensen in the house, guys. If you guys are not familiar with Brandon, he's a film director, guys. He makes feature-length films.
You know what I'm saying? Deal.
Not short films. He's done those, but feature-length films.
Not short YouTube films or films on YouTube, like real feature films.
Yeah, like he puts us in our place, guys. And here, I should read your bio real quick. Brandon Christensen is a film commercial director. He's made his directorial debut on feature-length films such as Stillborn, released in 2018, and Z, released in 2019. Also having a background in commercial video production. So this guy's done music videos. He's done commercials for businesses.
Damn, he did a feature film back to back.
Yeah, bro, back to back. And we're gonna talk about all the good details as far as like how he put everything put everything together.
Chill out, Twister.
Yeah, man. We over here, killing it. It's a spooky season. Yeah, man. What do you hope to gain from this episode, man?
I got so many questions because this is some next level stuff.
First of all, I gotta say, like, horror.
As being filmmakers as well,
horror is my favorite genre when it comes to like movies, bro. I just something about the scary season.
Yeah, I don't know. So I love getting scared because it brings in. It's like laughing.
Yeah,
scary and laughing is so fun to me because it brings out. Is it like endorphins or something?
Yeah, endorphins, and dolphins,
and adrenaline.
But yeah, without further ado, episode 81.
Peace
with Brandon Christensen.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen, in the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.
That's crazy. This is the last podcast of October that we're doing.
Perfect.
And it's Halloween. It's for Halloween.
Is Halloween your favorite holiday?
I don't know. I like the idea of it. And every time it comes, there's always like those. Are we recording yet?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Every time that there's everyone's like, watch a horror movie a day, do the 31 days of Halloween, and I'm always really excited to do that, but
never happens.
Never happens. I don't know if it's because I got kids or it's because
because you're preparing for Thanksgiving, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what's happening. Before we get carried away, real quick for everybody tuning into the podcast, Brandon Christensen in the house. Can you let people know who you are and what you do out here?
I am Brandon Christensen, as you just said. I am a director, producer, and visual effects artist now, but I just finished my second feature film called Z. It's currently in the festival circuit. It's actually playing like right now in Atlanta.
So dope.
And then on Sunday it's going to be at Nightmares Film Festival in Columbus, Ohio. But it's just kind of doing the whole thing, and it's coming out next year. And
it's and your main genre of film is horror, right?
Yep. Right now it's I started. I did a bunch of horror short films and stuff like that, and they just have I don't know, I've always been a big fan of horror, so it always made sense to do that.
I remember a couple of years ago you were posting some behind the scenes. I think it was the visual effects for a short film that you had done up in Mount Charleston.
Oh yeah.
What short film was that?
It was called Black Ice. It was like I wrote a feature with another guy, and it never went anywhere, so I adapted it into a web series, and it was kind of a 10-episode thing. And we shot just the pilot up in Mount Charleston, and we shot it in January, where every year other than that year it's been very snowy.
Yeah.
But that particular year it was everything melted, so it was just like, this is not the right place to shoot a film. That takes place in snowy mountains.
Yeah, they put those VFX skills to work.
I didn't know anything going into that, so when I started it was just just try. Everything was rotoscoping. There's no green screen. It wasn't shot properly or anything. So it was just.
I mean, it looked good. I mean, to somebody like me who doesn't do any VFX,
right?
And I'm watching like the layers as you put them on. I'm like, whoa, this is nuts.
Some of it looked pretty good, but watching it now, it doesn't really hold up, and it's just like.
Well, you get better with time too, right?
For sure.
You start noticing.
You can say that about a lot of old movies. They don't hold up at all.
A lot of movies don't age very well, man.
Yeah, it was a great learning experience, and just kind of taught me how to. Learn how to fix things later that you can kind of you can manipulate so much nowadays.
I do want to talk about Stillborn, and I want to talk about Z, because those are the two of your biggest to date films that you've worked on, right?
But
before we get there, What went on to get those? Did you have to get permits and things for shooting in Mount Charleston, and how did that work for that?
Yeah,
kind of like a run and gun kind of thing.
No, with that one we did have permits. It was just a 2-day shoot, and our producer Andrea Walter, she knew someone that knew someone, and she got the permit for up there or something like that. But the whole thing was shot in one parking lot up there by the volunteer fire station. So we didn't really, use that much space. The drone stuff I think we did.
Allegedly.
We did. Yeah, we shot that elsewhere.
It was back in the day before they didn't even knew what drones were.
Right, for sure. So we have a few of those things, and someone did stop. One of the Rangers stopped when we were doing just like a pickup day of just car driving stuff. And they asked what we were doing, but they were fine with it.
It's better you fly in Mount Charleston than you fly down the Las Vegas Strip, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even take off there.
Well, not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just talking about this with old girl we had on the last episode. Names, I'm blanking on the name.
Lisa?
Yeah. Leslie.
Sorry.
Yeah, we were just talking about that because when I first got my drone, allegedly, I took it down to the Strip, parked on top of the Bellagio parking lot, allegedly, and flew it down the Strip.
And it worked?
Yeah, it worked. This was like 2000.
Yeah, this is a while ago.
Whenever the DJI Phantom 3 or 4?
Mm-hmm. 4
came out.
4,
yeah, when it first came out. You know, before they did the whole GPS thing.
Right.
Because now you try to go down there and it's locked.
Yeah, when
we
we shot this movie, It Stains His Hands Red, with Colin Minahan, we shot a day in Utah in what's it called? There's that city. It's like it's on the border of Nevada and Utah, and it's kind of
Mesquite?
like no, it's further north. It's they shot they shot Con Air up there, like the whole airport sequence. It doesn't matter. But we were shooting there, and we were on an old kind of a single strip airfield.
Is it Ely?
No,
okay, never mind.
There's west.
That's all I know.
Yeah, me too.
Terrible story, but it's I had the drone and we had this great big shot set up, and I turned it on. It's just like it said would not fly because we were at an airport.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
that red zone.
Yeah,
and then
it's like a five mile radius or something.
What was that one movie? Because you probably know movies. They did like a chase scene in New York, and they got no permits. So like they literally did this chase scene.
Was it like a big movie?
Yeah, it was a feature film back in the day.
Like with Robert De Niro?
I don't know, bro. I know it's a pretty big movie because I remember my dad telling me. He's like, yeah, they did this whole scene.
That's
like,
would have been like The French Connection. That was in Chicago, I think. But
was it Chicago?
Maybe.
Then it was probably Chicago.
But I can't imagine back. That was like the 70s. I can't imagine they wouldn't have done it properly.
Supposedly, like he couldn't get the permits to shut down the street, so he literally shot it.
Just
and like, there's like shots where he hits a car, and that was supposedly a real person's car. Like,
wow.
And they use that?
Yeah, they used
it.
But I wonder, like how much, like, what was the ticket? You know what I mean? Because they for sure got hit with that. But,
when you're working on movies that big, you got like a multi-million-dollar budget. Usually maybe it's accounted for like, oh, here's a couple.
Right.
Tens of thousands.
It's like when you're building City Center, you have like X amount of deaths built into it for insurance. It's just like, okay.
Is that something that happens on big feature films? Like they plan for
No,
deaths?
I don't think on feature films.
Oh, okay.
I mean, especially with the whole Sarah Jones thing, I don't think that anyone's going to be...
What's the whole Sarah Jones thing?
The assistant camera that died on the train accident. Or it was like Midnight Express or something. That
I missed that. Yeah, I didn't...
They were shooting on a train track, like on a bridge, and they didn't have permits or anything like that. They thought it was going to be clear, but as they were shooting, just the train came and everybody's kind of abandoning, and she got hit and she died.
Wow.
So sad.
Yeah, just like in the Deadpool movie, one of the stuntmen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think Need for Speed too.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Resident Evil, I think, had one.
Well, before we go down that dark train track, let's go ahead and talk about why you decided to start doing films, because that's not something that everybody decides to make a career. First of all,
right. Well, I mean, I think everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially my age, when they always had a camera when they were a kid, like in 91 or something, we had my grandparents' camera, and we'd just shoot, me, my brother, and my two sisters would just shoot really horrible, little films and stuff like that.
Was that DV tapes or VHS?
It was like, they were 8mm, but they weren't film. It was high. It wasn't high 8. It was
Betamax?
No, it was just the little 8mm tapes. They were digital, or not digital. They were magnetic. But
oh damn!
But what were they? It was kind of like high 8, but I can't remember. But they say 8mm. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we would just shoot things like we had our own Superman series that it was all terrible. It was always in the house. We never went outside. But your imagination runs wild, and the bedroom becomes an office, and the downstairs becomes a gymnasium, and you're in like the cold storage room, and that's a gangster alleyway, and where all the drug dealers hang out.
I wish I grew up like that, man. I wish I grew up with people who wanted to make little films.
Right.
I'm Mexican, so everybody was like doing their own thing, man.
Right. When I got a little older, like junior high, my friends and I, we would shoot. We shot like a 45-minute spy thriller, and it's hysterical. It was me and a friend. My friend Dan. We were gonna try and do something like Metal Gear Solid. This was when that came out.
Nice.
And we were like, let's do a spy movie. We were using the same places in my house, and very quickly we got tired of doing it seriously. So it just spun into this parody of spy movies, and it just kept. I mean, it's horrible, but it's hilarious at the same time.
Looking back, it's nice to have that to look back on and be like, "Oh, we did that."
Yeah, for sure.
Are they on your Vimeo?
I don't think that one is.
Because I don't know if you know this, Chuck, but on his Vimeo, he's got a lot of like archival family stuff too.
I went so far back. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Looking at all that commercial stuff.
Yeah, we had cameras growing up, our entire lives. So I've got, my computer, I've digitized everything going back to the 50s with my dad. He has old films.
Was he same as you, like a director and everything? No. Or he just loved to film?
I think my grandpa, he hit my dad's dad. He just, I guess he was he did fairly well. So I think he just got into cameras and stuff like that. So he always had sort of the latest camera thing.
Because the camera used to be like a luxury back in the day.
Totally. Like in like 85, I think he got like a VHS shoulder mounted camera. And so we had home video footage from
portable.
Totally.
Top of the line.
So it's just, we've got footage just hours and hours and hours. It's pretty cool.
I have one picture of my dad before he was 30.
Right.
I have one picture.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's the same with my mom.
There's some stuff going on in my family, though. I think they said like the whole storage that they used to have burned down.
That's what my mom said.
That's what they're hiding something, bro.
What y'all hiding?
Anyways.
Well, it's funny. I've just got years of archival footage of my life, but it's like pales in comparison with my kids. It's like their first bath is like a trilogy of feature films. So
all day,
like 6 hours of.
I saw you even have interviews for their first day of school.
Yeah, that's something that I remember seeing something on YouTube. It was like someone did that with their kid. It was every day or every first and last day of every school year they would interview his daughter, and I think she was 18. He posted it on YouTube, and I was like, holy crap, that's really cool.
That's so tight.
And that was right around the time that my oldest son was going into kindergarten. So my wife and I were just like, we should do that. And we were, he's in second grade now. So we've done, I think, 5 interviews with him.
What was his last thing he said? Was he always bummed? Or was he excited? Like, thank God it's over.
Yeah. He's really excited about it. But it's always just like you're getting a gauge on what he wants to be when he's older and stuff like that. And you see his teeth just sort of falling apart.
Looking like a hillbilly.
Yeah. So it's cute. It's fun just to be able to look at those for sure.
Did you go the film school route?
I did. Yeah. I went to Toronto Film School.
Oh, okay.
So I was in Calgary. I grew up there, and when I was, graduated, by that point, all my friends had had already.
Sorry, that cable's gonna be annoying. Yeah. Damn it, Chuck.
I can do that.
Why are you always blaming me?
Brief intermission, guys.
I got this over here.
There we go.
Sorry, I can't do my job. That's why I'm not going anywhere.
You're all good. And so, all my friends were all going their own separate ways, and so I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I applied to, I think, Columbia in Chicago, and I got rejected. And then,
but when you apply to these schools, you have to submit work, don't you? Or is it not like that? I've heard about some schools that do that.
Right. I think some probably do. This was back before all that. This was 2003.
Oh, okay.
And so it was
lottery based. Do you think?
No, I think it was just. I just ran. I have no idea. I don't want to guess.
Berkeley. I heard some crazy stuff now, like to get into that school. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I saw that movie with what's his name, the drummer, Whiplash.
That was great.
They got to do some crazy stuff. I don't know what school that was, but you got to do some crazy stuff to get in that school. And to even keep going there.
Right.
But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and then Toronto Film School, it's one of those international academy schools. It's private, so it's just like, hey, you've got money, you can come. You're in. So it was just it was like an 18-month program. Just go in, no real breaks. Yeah. And just it was great. I got.
The whole program was 18 months.
Yeah, it was just 3 months and then like 2 weeks off for a break, and then 3 months. Just kind of went through like 5 or 6 different semesters. It's a diploma. I mean, it was a good experience just because it was. Great for networking and great for just having tools and stuff like that. Like, film school is totally what you take out of it. Like you can go there and just sort of sit and listen, not participate, and you're not going to get much out of it.
You don't want to do that though.
Yeah, exactly. If you're spending that kind of money, you want to be like hands on. You're in a lighting class, you want to play with the lights. You're in a camera class, you want to play with the cameras. And as school was kind of going on, I started to go out into music videos a little bit. So I would be ditching class to shoot or like do pre-pro and music videos and stuff like that. So. The teachers were cool with it, but there was like mandatory attendance, so they were nice enough to fudge those numbers for me just so I could work on stuff, because I think they got it. It's like, oh, he's doing work. It's not just like he's not just dicking around.
Yeah.
Do you still have any contacts from your former college days?
Yeah, I've got friends still. I was talking to a couple of them today because the film Z is actually playing in Toronto next month. When are you guys? Tomorrow it's announcing, so it should be fine.
Yeah, this will come out Monday.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, on November 26th at 7 p.m. it's playing at a festival there, and I haven't played in Toronto before, so I'm excited to go.
Oh, nice.
I'll start like reaching out to everybody that I went to school with.
Hey, get out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, so you're flying out there?
Yeah, I'll fly out there for it.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Do you think the school would support you that you went to?
Well, I don't know, because they closed. They closed. They're open again, but they went down for a couple of years. I'm not sure why. I don't know. I was kind of distant from it by the time that happened. It was 6
better than having gone to the Art Institute. I'll tell you that much.
I think it's very similar, but yeah, they closed and now they're back up. I don't know where they are. Maybe when I'm back, I'll go and check it out and just see if anybody I know there, like all the professors or whatever, are still there. But it was cool. I mean, I love Toronto. It's a great city.
That's interesting, man. That you said that your school closed. Why is it that the art-based schools always tend to have the most issues? Is it because art is subjective? I mean, what?
Probably because the people running it, it's a private institute. They're not really beholden to anything.
That's the issue. It's private. There you go.
Yeah.
If it was government run,
they could be handling the money. Who knows what's going on with that money? They're just. I honestly don't know though. I wasn't around for it. It was years after I graduated. Mm-hmm. I graduated in 2000, at the very beginning of 2006.
Mm-hmm. So coming out of college, did you know that you wanted to start on feature length films, or did you say I'm gonna start doing short films, commercials, weddings? What path did you take after that?
I was really into music videos at the time. I was trying to be. I'd done a few, and then a friend of mine that's still up in Toronto. We started a company together to try and get into music videos and corporate videos and wedding videos and stuff like that, but. Our work ethic was pretty low. We were like 22 years old, and Halo 3 had just come out.
So we were Chuck right there.
So we were just like spending all of our time, staying up till 5 playing Halo, and then have like business meetings, and nothing happened. I'd book like a music video, and the artist would just disappear. Yeah. And so so I was bartending at the same time, and it was just like, this isn't working at all. And after a year, my lease was up, and I was just like, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I was thinking about moving back to Calgary with my parents, but they had just torn down their house and rebuilt it. So my sister, who lived in Las Vegas, she's like, hey, come on out and just visit and see what you think, because I'm a dual citizen because my dad's American.
Right.
Oh,
and so I went down, and she knew someone at this company, DAV Productions, and they were hiring someone like a low-level PA type. And I got an interview, and they hired me while I was visiting for like a week. And so I just pretty much flew back to Toronto and packed up everything and drove down with my girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Your girlfriend moved to Vegas with you?
Yeah, she's from Calgary as well, and she's my wife now, but she came to Toronto, and we kind of just drove across the country in a U-Haul together.
And it kind of worked out perfectly.
Yeah,
wait, you got to help me out with my little geographical skills here. You said Calgary, right?
Calgary's due north. It's take the 15 all the way for 20
When you look
hours.
at the map,
So it's the very left of Canada?
Is it the top right or top left?
It's a little bit to the right of BC's the very far left, British Columbia, and then Alberta, where Calgary is. Like literally, you jump on the 15 here, drive north, and keep driving on the 15.
Oh, so it's
and
on
get there.
That's on this side.
It's literally one highway.
Oh, dang.
Oh, that's
Calgary.
Easy. That makes it so easy.
So it's like you go through Utah, Idaho, Montana, Alberta, and it's all just 15. Mm-hmm. Ontario is on the east side. It's not quite as far as like Quebec and the Maritimes, but it's Ontario is kind of the center right, and that's a long drive. That was like 38 hours or something like that. U-Haul, which sucked.
I kind of want to speak to the fact that you're in Las Vegas, but you don't really shoot in Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. You shoot mostly in Canada?
Yeah, my 2 films we've shot in Calgary, Alberta. We shot a film.
Why is that?
The first film that I worked on was It Stains the Sands Red, which is Colin Minahan and Stuart Ortiz's film. We shot here. I'd never worked on a feature before. They had done, a bunch, and they sent me this script, and I was like, well, I had never done this before, but I was like, I kind of pushed them. I was like, hey, this is a desert script. It takes place in Vegas. Let's shoot here. And they came out just to scout it, and I sort of lined everything up for them. So they just came, and they're like, oh, okay, everything's here. It's ready to go. So they just came and did it, and they pretty much financed the whole thing themselves. And
that's a zombie film, right?
Yeah, super low budget, just a tiny crew. It was like a DP, AC, a grip, a sound guy.
Yeah.
And then a rotating cast of like me as a PA, or I was just running around doing whatever, and we had a couple other guys and stuff there, but it was, it was bare bones. And when we finished that, we started writing Stillborn, and Colin wanted to give me a chance to do a film, which was cool. And it was, we wrote it for Vegas initially, but we have some friends, Kurt Harder and Chris Ball, up in Calgary, and they had just shot a film in Calgary, and they were talking about the tax incentives there that Alberta had, and and it just sort of we started talking about it more, and these guys, they were young but they were talented, and they knew a ton of crew and stuff like that, so we were able to rebuild the script for Calgary. And it was kind of nice for me because it was kind of like a homecoming. I could go back and I could work on this film.
Yeah.
So we ended up going there, and the tax incentives basically paid for our post-production. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
You kind of have to break it down to me. What is a tax incentive, and why is it super important in shooting films?
It's just basically like a tax rebate that the government gives you. So
okay.
It was
like if you buy a MacBook, they got a $500 rebate, you get that back.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha.
So like basically any dollar you spend in Alberta at the time, things are changing right now, so it's not the same, but at the time it was basically 30% of any dollar on crew, locations, hotels, anything like cast, anything like that. You get 30% back. So
do you have to hit up what's the tax government out there? Do you have to hit them up and be like, hey, we're doing this thing?
It was it's a public thing. It was it was a government entity that you dealt with directly. So it was just the Alberta Media Fund. So you just dealt directly with them. You filled out the application. They would, they had X amount of dollars allocated for films and stuff like that. It was like something like $30 million a year or something like that. Yeah. And I mean, Vegas has something similar.
That's why I thought they were doing a lot like when they were doing, what's it called? The Hangover film.
Right.
Then they were doing Las Vegas in here too.
Yeah.
That's
Paul
why
Blart
I thought Vegas
stuff.
was about to be the next like big film location.
Yeah, well, they do have something right now. The difference is in Alberta, the minimum spend, like what you had to do to actually start tapping into it, was $50,000. Whereas in Vegas, it's $500,000.
Oh crap!
So unless and that's spent in Las Vegas or in Nevada, sorry. So it's like, if you're casting out of LA, if you've got some like your DP or whatever, those don't count. So so if you're spending $1 million and 500 of that is on crew locations in Nevada, then you can tap into it. So it's tough. I mean, we did It Stains the Sands Red, and that was like 130 or something like that. So we were nowhere near it. And like, none of my movies are even close to that. So it doesn't really make sense to shoot here, So especially when we were doing Z and we did another film, Spiral, right after, we just stuck to Alberta because they had such aggressive, thing for that level of budget.
How far is Alberta from Las Vegas?
It's like a 20-hour drive north, 3-hour flight, 2.5-hour flight.
You always just drive there instead of just flying?
When we do family vacations, because my wife's from there too, we'll drive usually just because we got kids and it's super
it's a fun
expensive.
little thing too.
Not fun, but
oh, never mind.
But it's cheaper way to get there. But
now, at what point did you decide that you wanted to start doing commercials though? Because you've done a lot of like 15, 30-second ads, whether it's for car dealerships or you have like the
Nevada.
the don't drink and text and drive.
Right.
How did that come together?
When I was working at that company, DAV Productions, it's no longer around. They're a new company now, but they were doing commercials, and I was able to direct some for them. So as they kind of dissolved and I left them, they gave me one of the car dealership ones. They just didn't have time for it anymore, so they just sort of spun it off to me. And I was doing those, every few months because they're always updating their inventory, things like that. So that was kind of the starting point, and it just sort of spread. I got together with another local guy, Monty, who runs Thought Division, and he, I kind of pushed him. I was like, hey, man, I'm local. I want to direct commercials, blah, blah, blah. And he started giving me some work, too. And those were a little bit more higher end, like the local car commercials are, they're typically not very sexy, but this other guy who's doing kind of like international.
Have you seen like the commercials on like Channel 15 Spanish News?
No.
Where they have like the little dog speaking.
Or for the restaurants?
Yeah.
Bro.
Or for not the restaurants. I'm talking about the ones for the grocery stores. The grocery stores, bro, or even the car dealerships. They'll have like a dog, and they'll VFX the mouth moving.
Bro, it looks like bowling alley graphics.
Bro, it looks like something I would do. I don't do VFX.
Right.
No way. So did that help? Like you being a visual effects artist, did that help you book more gigs or like?
I mean, I'd be learning. Like I booked one. He had these kind of international clients, like for these stock trading companies in like Luxembourg. And so I would be, getting up at like 3 a.m. to do client calls with these guys. And they're just like, we want to do we want a Lamborghini flying down a highway. It's supposed to take place in Sydney. It's supposed to take place in Shanghai. And I'm like, okay. And so I was just like figuring it out as I went. And I never had a ton of money. So we shot this one cool spot that was basically... it was me, Clayton Moore, a local DP. And,
I've heard of him. I think I have him on Facebook.
Yeah, and like one other guy that was like a grip, and we shot the entire thing in a hotel room. And when you watch it, there's like he's like in Shanghai, he's like ripping down in a freeway in a Lamborghini and stuff, and it was just like all these different elements I put together, and it's actually a pretty dope commercial.
So you had to call everybody and figure everything out?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was no money for a producer. Yeah, it was so I mean, that was the thing that actually helped me work on that first film, It Stains the Sands Red, is that I was putting together these shoots on no money. I'd just be like I'd have to do everything because I couldn't afford to hire a producer. So it was just kind of one, it always seems to be when you do something and you can put it out into the world, people go, oh, this guy does that.
Yeah.
And then someone will reach out and, it just, the commercials just sort of kept coming and it was cool. And music videos were kind of the big thing before that, but they started to fizzle out as...
You ever done a rap video?
I did a ton.
Yeah,
I've done.
I think we all have.
Hey, have you seen that Facebook video where like the videographer's holding the camera and then all the rappers are like holding guns to it? And
this fool
he's like with his camera.
No,
bro, it's hilarious.
So going back to like when you said you started directing some of the commercials, did you ask? Did you say like, hey, I'd like to take this task up, or did they kind of say like, hey, do you want to? It was
kind of brought to me as just, can you do this? The same thing with the music videos. It was just like, we have $500. We want to shoot a music video in 8 locations. And I'd be like, okay, you're gonna get me, all these crappy lights I have. And
you get me in a T2i.
Yeah. These green ass lights.
Yep. And it was just driving around to spend 20 hours shooting, just you and the band, and you'd make whatever you could make, and it was never as good as you wanted it to be, but it was $500 that you didn't have, so.
Yeah.
It was just that, just kind of hustling, and you'd get, then you'd get $1,000 to do a video, and you'd be like, oh, I'm going to hire a guy to help. And then you've got a PA all of a sudden, and it just sort of slowly builds. And eventually it was just like, now I do a commercial here and I've got a full truck. I've got a full grip and lighting team. It's nice. Now I don't have to do anything.
Nah, man, your work looks incredible, man.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Stillborn was like, I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was. I mean, for a small budget film, we had a ton of people on that. Like, if you came, you'd think it was $1 million film.
Mm-hmm.
No, 100%. That's what I thought. I was like, damn, what is this, like at least 6 mil, 7 mil? I was like, it looks so good.
I don't know where I heard this, but the baby in Stillborn. What that was one of your relatives?
Yeah, it was my niece, and that was part of the reason we went to Calgary too. Was that my brother and his wife, Ryan, Indiana, they were pregnant with their second kid. Mm-hmm. And we kind of like cast her in utero. We're just like, look, we kind of scheduled the film around her birth. We were like,
dang,
she's born, I think it was August 20th or something, somewhere around there. And we're like, we started shooting a week after, and she was there every single day.
Yeah.
So we paid them a little bit of money, but I mean, what we did wasn't exactly legal because you're supposed to, with the ACTRA guidelines, they have to be X amount of days old, and we fudged those numbers a little bit.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's one of the things I want to talk about because, like,
allegedly,
allegedly, I think I can't remember. I can't.
Just kidding.
Because I don't know where I read this, but like, if they're newborns, they can only be on set like
a couple hours.
No more than like 3 or 4 hours per day.
Is it same with children?
That's why. What?
Same with children?
Children have like 6 hours or something.
But here's the thing is, and this is what I learned. I don't know where I heard this from, but when you have twins, you get tend to be booked more. Because then you can alternate.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's why like you always have the Sprouse brothers, the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, because they could shoot all morning with one, then just throw her in the garbage, and the other one would come out and shoot. So you could do a full shooting day. I mean, on Z, we didn't. We had this kid Jed Klein, who was 9 when we shot, and so we've got all these rules and all these hoops to go through. And that was a film where, it's a horror film where most of the film's going to be at night. And so our first 2 weeks of the film, we were shooting from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and you can't shoot with a kid after like midnight. He's going to fall apart. So we had to be very creative with how we did that. Like we would shoot one part of a scene and then return to it later when we were in the same room, like a week later, so we'd get his side of it just because the timing would work up. So it's just a lot of puzzle solving just to make that work. But once you get after midnight and you're trying to work with them, it's like if I was trying to work with my kids, they're not going to start listening. They don't listen after midnight.
Did you have somebody to help you keep track of the schedule for not even so much of the schedule, but like the shot list of like, okay, well, we shot this, but we got to make sure we come back and shoot this other part because we couldn't shoot that part.
Yeah, we had an AD. We had 3 ADs, but
that's an assistant director, right?
Yeah. So we had the one. The first AD is kind of the one that's working side by side with me. Mm-hmm. The second AD was doing more call sheets and more like larger scope things. And the third AD was kind of babysitting the talent. Like they would hang out and just make sure they were on set when they needed to be.
Yeah.
So they would all be on they'd have walkie-talkies, and they're just like, okay, we need to get the actor to set. So she would be sort of standing by their room and then bring them out and stuff like that. But I had a shot list that I would be working from, and there was actually one situation where we shot half of a scene and we were supposed to return and shoot the reverse on it the next week, just because we didn't have the kid yet when we shot the first half. And we never did. So when I was editing the film, I was like building this scene, and I was like, where's the reaction? Where's this whole... And I was just like, did we not get it? Yo. And we just never shot it. Luckily, it didn't matter, but...
How did you cut around it?
Just cut the scene out.
Oh,
and I knew it's funny that when I was shooting the film too, because we shot scenes after and before later, and I was just like, that scene's it wouldn't even work in the film anyways. Like it would have been cut for sure. Yeah, so it was kind of a lucky accident.
Oh hell yeah!
That's kind of funny because I'm currently editing a music video, and we talked about it before the podcast started. But remember that video we shot with I won't say who, but anyways, we shot a scene where this guy's talking to a girl on FaceTime, right? We got the whole scene of him talking to her. We just didn't get her talking to him. So like, there's no reaction. It's like a 1 minute shot of the camera just on him. And I'm like, crap, how am I going to just keep it on him for like a minute and he's talking to her the whole time? So what I did is we do have shots of her when he was doing a performance shot, but it's just of her giggling and laughing and twirling with her hair. So what I did is I looked for spots in the audio when he's talking to her where she's just laughing, cut him in. That way you get a little bit of,
Totally.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
It's movie magic.
Beautiful accidents.
It's puzzle solving.
And then I shot it in 4K, so I just cropped in. And then I kind of cut him because you can see him lip syncing. So yeah.
So when going back to like, did you for this Stillborn? Did you have a producer that you knew?
Yeah, so Colin Minahan was the kind of the main producer, and he was the one that directed It Sounds Red, and he had the most experience. He was kind of a guy I looked up to growing up because he was doing music videos in Canada and kind of like winning awards, all this stuff. And so I was kind of trying to emulate his career a little bit and just wasn't able to do what he was doing. And so he kind of went off into the feature world, and he had done a few features, and that's why I kind of was like, dude, I want to do this feature with you, come to Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of forced my way in there. So he and then Kurt and Chris in Calgary, they were the three kind of producers. Like Colin would be more of a creative producer. He'd be more thinking about the script and changes and things like that. Kurt was kind of working with the money, and Chris was kind of working with getting things. Like you'd be the line producer, running around, buying things, hiring, whatever, just being the problem solver. It was a great team that we had. So, the movie for a first film, it was kind of just like a very lucky situation to be in. And another thing was that we shot at my parents' house, the house that they rebuilt back when I couldn't move back to Calgary.
Nice ass house.
Yeah. So they built this big house after all the kids moved out because I guess
that's what they can do.
yeah, for sure. So we ended up shooting there. We had another location. The movie was written for like a starter home, young couple, first kids. And then all of a sudden, a week before production, we had cast the leads in their, early 20s, mid 20s. So we were all like, okay, this is the house, blah, blah, blah. And then the house sold, and they were like, we can't shoot here anymore because we just sold the house. They want possession when you guys are shooting. So it was, a week before production, we're just kind of pulling our hair out, and everyone's like, just, go to your parents and ask them. And I did, and they were just like, okay, yeah, no problem. And they just moved out for a month. And we shot, there was 15 days there or something like that. But that was always our home base. Like every day, the whole crew would come into the basement, and they would just we had like a war room where they were kind of like cutting dailies and stuff like that. All the crafty was down there.
So they did everything in there.
Yeah. So we shot.
So you guys shot Z in 15 days?
No, we shot. Well, both of them are 20, but Stillborn was 15 in that house, and then we had like the hospital location. And we had like the neighbor's house and stuff like that. So we had 5 days off of that, outside of that house. But yeah, then Z was a 20-day shoot as well. And that was 10 days in one location, and then 6 in another location, and then just 4 scattered, kind of just, one-offs.
Damn, these films look so, I was like, when I watched Stillborn, I thought this was like a year in making and all this shit.
I mean, the post is what takes forever.
Oh, okay. And why so?
It's just tweaking little
like going
things
back and
so
forth and
much.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're cutting. You got to get. You're shooting. 30, 40 hours of footage. You're going through every take. You're going through everything. You just and you have to make sure that the story makes sense. I mean, they say you write a script 3 times. You write it when you write it, and then you write it when you're shooting it. Then you write it in post. And it's like when you look at Z's timeline. Like all these scenes have scene numbers, and you think it'd go like scene 1, 2, 3, but it goes like scene 1 to 45, 6, 40.
The different things, situations you have to shoot in.
And just you have to change. You just have to adapt the story so it makes the most sense. How you're shooting it and how you wrote it doesn't necessarily translate. So you're all of a sudden going like, well, wait, this doesn't really make any sense.
Well, that kind of makes me think of a question. Then, if you have somebody who's writing the story for the movie, and then you have somebody who's editing, and they edit it different than the script is.
Right.
Is there like a conflict there? Does the screenwriter understand that needs to be written later?
I mean, in this case, since I was a co-writer on both of them, and I was editing, it didn't, I was fighting with myself.
Yeah.
But I think in a case where it's like you've got a writer, typically if you've got a writer, a separate director, and a separate editor, the writer's kind of out of the situation by the time it gets to post. Like they might hang around a little bit on the shoot, but typically you'd buy their script, and the director would have their own pass on the script, and then they could, they'd shoot. It's kind of just a handoff situation. But in this case, it's like I know what it was supposed to be, and you're kind of wrestling with what it actually is, and so you're trying to figure out what you actually shot isn't what you thought you were going to shoot. So you're coming up with new ways to present this information that you shot and make it make sense. And so it's funny because like you'll have people that are analyzing your film, and they're just like, oh, well, this means this and this means that. And you're just like, honestly, I just wanted it to make sense. Like, if you're finding that, great, but that is not at all what I was going for. I just wanted it to be coherent.
Yeah.
And you did sound design too, or you had somebody help?
No, we hired people. So on Stillborn, we had a guy, Joe Baruco, in Montreal. He did that. And then on Z, we had a guy, Miguel Nunez, in Vancouver.
And I'm imagining that's the beauty of the internet right there, right? You get to work with people who aren't necessarily near you.
Yeah, I mean, they would be working on it, and then we'd fly out for like a week to work with them to finish it.
Nice.
And just like watch, every scene and just go through and tweak, and then then you finish it up, and that's it. I think you hear about all these rumors with the new Star Wars movie. They've shot like 6 endings. They just keep changing stuff because they want it to be right.
Right.
In an indie film, it's like you've got one shot. You can't afford to make those changes. So you're just like, you leave that you leave that office, and you've got this file, and you're just like, this is it.
I heard something crazy about the Avengers Endgame movie. They wrote a bunch of different endings, but also a bunch of different alternate paths within the script. And they, first of all, nobody ever had the full script.
Okay. Yeah,
everybody always had parts of the script, and sometimes those scripts didn't match up. And this was done purposely so nobody would spoil, or that it wouldn't leak that how the movie would end.
Oh wow,
totally.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
bro.
Spoiler culture's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, Game of Thrones, like when that was going on, they would bring actors in that weren't shooting just to make people, because there was people there that would be just trying to take photos and spoil.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, wait, why is that character's dead? Why are they back? Are they on? Like, and they would just be throwing people off.
It kind of sucks though. You have to do that because people are piece of shit.
It's just the way it is.
I don't know where I read this, but you want to be a series. like a show series director, right? You want to actually have your own show, kind of like a Vince Gilligan.
Totally.
What kind of show would you want to direct?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of that was why I did Black Ice the way it was. Like I was trying to do an episodic thing where it'd be like, I was just trying to do 10 episodes, 10 minutes each, and just trying to adhere to these timelines that I could be like, okay, here's 10 minutes, try and be strict about it and just try and make it very like a series. And, that didn't go anywhere. So the feature world kind of popped up there, but I've still got my eye on that. And my brother wrote a book called Reedy Creek that, he and I had adapted over the last couple of years, and we've got like 9 scripts. It's like 455 pages. We've got a full Bible and stuff like that. And if I could do anything, like before I did another movie, I would drop everything and just do that.
Wow.
But it's tough.
Can you fix The Walking Dead?
I bailed on that after the first season.
Wait, after the first season? After the first season?
Once they did Darabont, once they fired him, I was just like, all right, I'm done.
Oh, I don't keep up with that. But after the third or fourth season, I was like, I'm just watching it as a habit at this point. I'm like, I've invested too much of my time to give up on it. Now the new season 10 is out.
Jeez.
They're like 4 episodes in. I haven't watched a single episode yet.
There's so many shows.
It's turning into like Supernatural.
I forgot it came back, bro.
Right.
And that was the biggest like series show.
Right.
That's how I feel about Mr. Robot. The new season just came out. I didn't even know. I was like,
right.
Wait, what the hell?
Yeah, I saw the first season.
There's another one?
Fourth season.
When we were living at the last house, there was another season 3 came out.
Yeah, I already watched that.
So now season 4 is out?
Yeah, it's fine.
Wow.
Dude, no, it's under the radar. Like nobody talked about it. I was like,
yeah.
What?
It's crazy. There's
Unless
so
you're
much
Breaking
stuff.
Bad, no one's talking about you, bro.
I know. There's just so much content. It's impossible.
Have you watched El Camino?
Not yet.
No?
It came out when I was in Telluride for a film festival the night it came out, so I was like,
oh, nice.
I wasn't able to watch it there, and I got back and just haven't yet. I need to. I want to. I loved Breaking Bad. I love Better Call Saul.
Oh yeah.
But
2 of my favorite shows.
Yeah, those are. I mean, Better Call Saul is one of the shows that I will watch. I'll watch it the night of and everything.
Dude, we've been waiting so long for it to come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Ever since they took a break to film El Camino. Yeah, but anyways, I want to talk about the film. What's it called? Film festival circuit. But before that, I want to bring something up. After watching Z and watching Stillborn, I noticed there's a recurring motif in your films where it's like the psychology of like a mother between her child.
Right.
Why is it? Why is that?
I think it's just because that's kind of all I know right now. I live in a house with a family with kids, and I see kids doing creepy stuff, and so
I hate kids when they do creepy shit.
I'm just drawing on what I'm seeing every day, and I see my wife dealing with all this stuff, and my wife is scared of a ton of things, so it's just taking that. I'm basically watching these characters play out with her fears, so it's pretty easy to come up with scary stuff when you've got it right in front of you.
My niece did something a long time ago. It creeped me out. She just stared at the corner.
Yeah.
She was like 10 years old, man. Oh no, she was like 8 or 9. She was a little kid, right? A little skinny little kid. She's just looking at the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on?
When kids or animals do that shit, especially with my dog, I'm by myself in the house, and then she just gets up and barks at the dark ass hallway, and I'm like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I get so mad. I'm like, I close the door. I'm like, play music hella loud. I'm like, God damn it.
Right.
When I watched the Stillborn, I jumped and I was like, fuck. I got mad. I was like, I hate when I get caught off guard.
There was a couple of there was one spot in Z that had
the banister.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. I need to watch it because
right.
I was in Mesquite doing this commercial, so I'm like, I didn't have time. I was so tired. I was like, and I had no internet.
Okay. Well, I didn't spoil anything, but that's the one. It turned out really. I mean, Stillborn has the video monitor one, and that one when we did our world premiere at Overlook. I was I was sitting in the crowd. It was the first time I ever watched it with a crowd, and I was just sitting there, and everybody's kind of quiet, and that happens around the 12-minute mark, and it was just like audible gasps when it happened because it's such a quiet movie up to that point, and all of a sudden, just like out of nowhere, you have this giant scare, and everyone's just like, there's like screaming in the audience, and these are all horror buffs, and so they're just like, you're just like, okay, we got them, we're fine, and it was smooth from there. But Z's got the same thing with that particular one. It's like, but that one's it's like 25 minutes in. But even now, I don't sit and watch it in the festivals. I'll leave, but I'll be like, oh, it's 24 minutes. I got to come back and I'll film the reaction because it's always hilarious.
Now, you mentioned Overlook. The Overlook Hotel, that's where they shot The Shining, right?
Yeah, so the Overlook is a fictional hotel from The Shining.
Oh, it's not a real hotel? Like it's not operational during the year?
No, it's not. I mean, the actual hotel is called the Timberline Lodge. It's in Oregon. But that's where Stanley Kubrick shot the exteriors for The Shining, and then the Stanley, which is a place in Colorado, that's where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining, and that's where the TV series version of The Shining takes place.
Okay.
So yeah, this festival, they did their first year, their inaugural year of this festival up at the Timberline Lodge, up on Mount Hood in Oregon, and it was just you're kind of stranded up there. The snow was going up to the windows, just like when Danny and he climbs out of the window in The Shining and he rolls. It was just like that.
That's crazy.
That's so
the inside of it's totally different, but they themed the whole festival around that film, and it was really cool.
They have little girls walking around.
Yeah, I mean, bicycles. They had a ton of just like role playing games. Like they had a serial you could sign up and get like Amber Alerts for a serial killer and stuff, and so they'd have like these live action role playing things.
That's so dope.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. And so they did this first year there, and it was just like a ton of media and just like super horror fans and stuff like that. It was so awesome. You were just kind of stranded up there because there was nothing. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go anywhere. It was just you and the mountain and the hotel, and so you were just watching films and just hanging out and partying and stuff like that. It was really cool. And then they moved to New Orleans, and it just never recaptured the same thing because it's spread out in a very touristy area where there's just too much to do.
Yeah.
So it's just not the same.
So what was one of the last horror movies that like inspired you or like hyped you up?
I already know which one mine is, man.
Creep 2.
Wait, which one's that one?
Creep?
Yeah, the one with Mark Duplass. It's on Netflix.
Not
it's
Jeepers Creep.
Oh,
No.
Mark Duplass. He's really dope.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It's really good. It's short. It's like 72 minutes or something like that. It's on Netflix. It's like they're found footage films about the first one's a guy that was hired on Craigslist to go film some guy. It's like $1,000 to film him. He doesn't know why. He goes up to the mountains and shoots this guy, and he tells him that he's got a brain tumor that's inoperable and he's about to die, and his wife's pregnant, and he wants to get some footage of him talking to his kid and stuff like that, and just spending a day with him so he can have this footage to leave with his son. And very slowly you realize
I bet you that's not the case.
That's not the case, and it's just this total creep dude, and you're just like,
Hell yeah.
It's just super creepy, and he makes this guy do these weird things, and he's totally messing with him, and then just whatever happens, and then he did a sequel, and it's just continuation, and it's just so good.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I love that, man.
Yeah, I've always. What was your favorite movie?
The one where the girl gets her head cut off on the car.
Hereditary.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
bro, that was
that
such
movie.
a good film.
Yeah, I like stuff that was just like, oh, okay, like, whoa, that was weird.
There was that one, and then there was bro, what's the one with the guy uses the dark web to film people in his
Unfriended or whatever, the sequel?
No, it's not Unfriended.
Okay.
I think he uses like the dark web to he owns a hotel or an Airbnb, multiple Airbnbs, he owns them, but he also plants super tiny cameras in each room, and he spies on all the guests.
Okay.
And then what he does is he streams it to the dark web, and then people bid on things.
Right.
So like, hey, go in there and sniff her drawer or whatever for $500. Sends him the money. He does that, or he'll steal like clothes from the rooms and then sell them on the dark web. Like, it's really creepy, man.
I think
I forgot what it's called, but if I remember, I'll bring it up later.
For sure. That sounds cool.
Because the only ones that get me, I don't know if they count as horror, but the Green Room.
I was gonna actually say that one too. I just saw that recently, way
Holy
too
shit.
late. That was like the most tense movie
I know
I've ever
it's old, but I was like, whoa, this is kind of real.
It's very.
Have you watched it yet?
I haven't seen
It's
that
so
yet, man.
good. It's just a movie that you just sit down on
Suspense.
super suspense. The whole time you're just at the edge of your seat, just like this. I'm living in a nightmare right now.
Yeah,
this is awful. So
it
good.
sucks, man, because I love gore. Because my dad he's a horror guy, so it's like he just watched the goriest shit, and I just started getting into it all. That's why I like. I guess the other one was what's the Exorcism of
Emily Rose,
the Mexico one.
Exorcism of Mexico.
The Spanish one. Remember the one you sent me, Jessica? Vanessa?
Veronica.
Oh, Veronica. I didn't see that one. It was on Netflix.
One's good, bro.
It reminded because they did it like the old Exorcist, so like the
Catholic
music,
priest
and like the angles and like how they filmed it. So it wasn't too modern. It was more to homage to like I guess like the older ones. It was really good. It was like I think the thing that always gets me, and I don't know if it's real, but when they play like tapes,
it's
from
always
after,
creepy.
and I'm like, ooh.
Oh yeah.
That makes me like shiver.
Plus, I don't know if you know the history of that haunting, but it was the first and only ever
recorded.
Documented.
Which, Veronica?
Yeah, Veronica.
It's real. It's supposed to be based on something.
Yeah, it's based on a real story down in I forgot where it's at, Spain or something, Madrid. It was the only one reported by the police as the excuse being or the reason being paranormal activity.
Right.
Yeah, they have like the real recording at the end. And it's fucking scary because you hear the girl screaming.
That's cool.
But it's just done like, so well, man.
Yeah, I see it.
You know, but this is the camera. This is the show I was talking about. 13 cameras.
Okay.
It's called, and then the sequel's called 14 cameras.
That's clever.
Yeah. 15 cameras.
they can keep it going.
Right.
They can keep it going.
There's
but I want to talk about the film festival circuit. How do you decide what films you want to submit to, and what's the process like?
I mean, there's like the major festivals like South by Southwest, Sundance, Telluride, you know, like Cannes, Toronto, those ones. And those ones generally they'll have like a genre showing where they have like midnight films, which are their horror, you know, their genre films, and they only have like 4 or 5, and usually they'll give like 1 to A Quiet Place. So you're just like, why are you going? You know, what are you doing? That's not fair. You're coming out like 2 weeks after the festival wide. You know, you're going to be on 4,000 screens.
Yeah.
So the chances of getting into those is very slim. A film last year called "What Keeps You Alive" that Colin Minahan did after "It Stains the Sands Red," it actually got into South by Southwest, and so that was a cool experience to go. You know, it's just an EP on there and did some VFX and stuff, but going to Austin for that festival was pretty cool. Just it was so legit, you know.
That's so dope.
But with like my films, Overlook with Stillborn was it was this new unknown thing. We'd gotten rejected from South by, we got rejected from Tribeca and stuff like that. So we kind of we got into Overlook, but we didn't really know what it was yet because it was the first year. But we knew that there was going to be a ton of media there, and like it was just going to be something that a lot of people were just like, what is this thing? You know, Jason Blum was there and stuff. So we went there, and I loved it. It was such a fun time. And then with Z, it was the same thing. Since I was Legacy there, we sent it to the guys that run it, and we're just like, hey, we got this new movie. You know, it'd be rad to go back 2 years later with a new movie. We did our world premiere for Stillborn. We'll do it again with this. And you know, it was just sort of it came and went, and the festival circuit's weird. There's so many genre festivals out there. They're worldwide. They're everywhere. You know, there's one like every other week. I mean, and so you're kind of just submitting to whatever. I mean, you try and make friends. You know, get friends with like some of the programmers and stuff like that to give you a leg up, because you know some of these places get thousands of films, and it's impossible to sort of stand out. So you know, we got pretty lucky with Stillborn. We got some cool ones like Fright Fest in the UK, and just did like it kind of. Even now, I'm hearing about Z playing in like Norway, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Just like randomly, it'll be at different places and stuff like that. So you're just. It's kind of just takes a life of its own when you've got your sales reps and stuff like that pushing it out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But it's always a tough thing to figure out where you're going to premiere first. You know, it's like, do you want to, you know, I got rejected from this, but there's a smaller one in between this and the next big one. Do we want to wait, or do we want to take the one that's saying yes, but it's a bit smaller? And it's just like, at the end of the day, no one really remembers your premiere. It's just, you know, it's going to take a life of its own. So right now, you know, we had our premiere at Overlook, and then a couple months later, we had another one in Florida. And then it just sort of like snowballs from there, where other programmers, they're like hitting you up. They're like, hey, we heard you won Scariest Film at Popcorn in Florida. Do you want to, you know, can you submit? Can you send us a screener? And you're just like, yeah, cool. And then they go, hey, yeah, we want your film. And it just kind of snowballs from there. And it's kind of nice. Because, I mean, these screening fees, they're pretty high. You're like spending $60 every time you send a film in.
Right.
Oh, damn.
So you pay to submit your film for the opportunity of possibly... Wow, okay.
That's how they want you to do it. So when you have these relationships and you can just send them directly, or sometimes they'll reach out and they'll be like, hey, we want to see your film. Here's a waiver code. And then you put that code in on Film Freeway, and it just it knocks the price down to $0 usually. And then you save some money doing that. But then you're traveling all the time. Like I've done Florida, I've been in Calgary, I'm going up to Toronto. It's playing tonight. I wanted to go.
But he had the morning dinner podcast.
I did.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, it's like Telluride was, you know, a couple weeks ago, and that was awesome. And that was one that I always wanted to do, just because it's like this small mountain town. There's nothing around anywhere. It's just you and the mountains and just people that want to see horror films. So it was just cool. It's an awesome experience.
Now, as someone who's never been to a film festival, myself over here, and Chuck, what happens at a film festival? You just go and you watch movies all day, like people, the general audience pays a ticket, $5, $10, $20, and they go watch movies all day. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, typically, different festivals are different, but I'll use Telluride since that's fresh. They had 3 screens, like 3 different theaters that you could go to, and then they had like parties and things like that. They have merch you can buy, and there's all the like different events that they set up. Like there was like a campfire reading thing where they had a guy with a little boombox, and he would read like a horror story, and they gave out like chocolate milk to everyone, or not chocolate milk, hot chocolate to everyone. So they're all just sort of sitting there. It's cold. And, you just do stuff like that. And it's just like a whole community coming together. And so many of these people know each other. Like they see each other at other festivals. It's a lot of media people that there's just a lot of, it's weird because horror is kind of the one genre where you can be a fan of slashers, or you can be a fan of like psychological horrors, but you go together and like you just totally bond because there's just it's weird. Like there's comedy snobs and stuff like that. There's like drama snobs. We're like, this is not artsy enough. They're just total like douches about it. But with the horror community, and this is another reason why I do it, is because like they're just, no matter what you're making, they're super welcoming. Like I'm hanging out with other filmmakers that do this stuff that's just like punk rock horror, totally different from my stuff, but there's just like a bond there because we're all kind of doing the same thing.
What's punk rock horror?
I just said that. But it's not really his subgenre.
I would
but
imagine like a.
I was like Rocky Horror Show.
No, it's like a Jason movie where all the kids, teenagers die. Camping.
Jason.
Cabin Hood.
What's the one where he went to space?
Woods.
Jason X.
Jason X.
Yeah.
You never seen it? No, that shit was so funny.
It was pretty funny.
There's this one scene where they're like
the sleeping bags.
Yeah, the virtual reality, and he like. I don't know. He just hits. He takes grabs a girl in a
sleeping bag,
and he just hits the other girl. It's like the corniest shit, but it's so funny. It's like, okay, at this point, they're just being stupid, bro.
I just mean like just you watch these 2 movies. His stuff is just totally different compared to mine, but at the same time, it's appealing to the same people. It's just a very broad audience, but they all just sort of like no one's like, that's bad horror. They just want to watch horror. So they just sort of fiend for it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you go and you can, I'll watch a couple movies when I go, but in general, it's just about like socializing, networking and stuff, seeing people that I've seen at other festivals and just hanging out. It's just a cool time.
What do you think makes a good horror film? Or actually, I'll rephrase that question. What makes a good horror film, but also what is something that you've seen in horror films nowadays that you think could be improved upon? Or if there is anything, I don't.
I mean, definitely, it's like a strong central theme about what the film's about. Like, when you have like the dissolution of a family in Hereditary, where you're dealing with these mental health, and it's called Hereditary. It's like something that her mom had, now she has, and you're just seeing a character fall apart, and it's someone that you care about. So it's just having characters that are empathetic enough that you can attach yourselves to them, even if you don't really understand their experience. You at least are understanding their experience from their perspective. I mean, that's a huge thing, because if you don't care about the characters, then it's kind of lost,
Yeah.
Like that's what, like the Jason X thing. We're saying the girl in the sleeping bag because the hero in that movie is Jason. We just want to see him kill people.
Yeah.
And that's great. So if you've got a great villain like that, that's awesome. I mean, you have the new Halloween stuff, and it's got, Jamie Lee Curtis is back and her daughter and blah, blah, blah.
I haven't seen the new one.
I mean, you've still got the dynamic of it's Jamie Lee Curtis versus, Michael Myers. And it's because you've known these characters forever. It's really interesting what they did, because they basically retroactively forgot about the sequels to the original Halloween. So it's like the first Halloween happened, and then this one happened. So they just ignored everything afterwards, and it's just a continuation like 30 years later. And so it's just like everything that you knew from that franchise after that is gone, and it's just she's dealing with her, the effects of that night and stuff like that. She's like a crazy old lady, and she's just been waiting for Michael to come back, and he finally does. So it's cool. I mean, but if you don't have a character that you care about, then it's kind of the worst. It's just like, who cares? And that's what I liked about TV too, is you can really dive into stuff, like in Breaking Bad or something like that. If that was a movie, like, who's Jesse Pinkman? You're not going to care about this guy. It's always just like, yo, bitch. Oh, It's just like, you don't really care. But when you have a show and you're seeing the family struggle, and just his girlfriend dying, and there's all these things, these elements that kind of come together to create this character that you kind of fall in love with. Yeah. And then when when things go bad, you're just like, oh man, you care for this person. It makes it so much more effective.
Yeah.
So I think it always goes to the characters.
I think one of the things for me that gets me about horror films, like a good horror film, like it's got to be something that I would think about it's happening to me or happening to like my brother, my dad,
something
my niece. You know what I mean? Like like even like kidnappings, things like that. Like it really or somebody sneaking into your house waiting for you to fall asleep. Like that terrifies me.
Totally. Well, that's why like Paranormal Activity was so good, because it's like, what is happening when I go to sleep? I can't. I'm not watching. I'm totally. I'm gone. I'm oblivious. I don't know, but there's things happening in my house around me and I don't know about it. That's terrifying. Yeah. That's why Green Room's so effective, because it just kind of puts you in this situation. A few things go wrong and you're just put into a situation where you're just like, what would you do?
Yeah.
Like
the hereditary part where he's driving the car, she sticks her head out the window. Like it's just something that you don't see is impossible for something to happen. It happens and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? I can't go back 5 minutes. Like there's no time.
Like you know what movie messed me up? Hostel.
Yeah.
That movie.
That's great.
Bro, it's what it is about, right?
No.
It's basically people who travel, hostels.
Stay in a hostel.
Okay.
So, but they get travelers, they kidnap them, and then they put them in torture rooms. So rich people pay money, and they get to torture them.
Backpackers, pretty much.
And it's pretty gory. It's
great.
pretty gory.
I gotta watch that.
It makes you feel like so like God.
Yeah.
Because like when I watch a movie and I feel like disgusted after, I'm like, good job. But I hate you.
Yeah.
Like,
it was kind of what the movie that started the torture porn thing.
Yeah.
That was they like coined it. And then, Saw.
Like Saw.
Yeah, Saw was pretty
fun. I enjoyed Hostel a lot. I think it's pretty cool.
Dang, dude, we're already at the 1 hour mark.
Nice.
damn.
That's crazy. And I'm only halfway through what I wanted to ask you.
Keep talking.
But I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the new Joker movie that came out?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh,
I got kids. I got a newborn. It's impossible to see stuff.
Damn.
Dude.
I didn't even see Quinn's movie.
If you want to go see it, I'm
down.
down to go see it again, because I thought it was really good.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard it's good. I mean, Joaquin's great. I'm sure it's great.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you can give me and Chuck on directing? Because we are not the greatest directors. We're learning, I feel.
It always depends on who you're working with and what you're doing. I still, like on Z, I would screw up things all the time. I mean, there was a time on Stillborn where I was shooting a scene, very small scene, it's just like the main character's looking out a window and she's kind of traumatized by something that's happened to her, and she's staring and I'm watching the monitor. I'm just like, oh man, a tear would be great right now. And you just need to know your actor. Some actors will be like, you go, hey, I need a tear, and they go, okay, cool, got it, and then they cry. But with certain people, that's not how they work. Their process is different, so you need to give them some motivation or something like that. And so on the when we're shooting, I was like, I need you to cry, and she's just like, she just like lost it, and I was just not lost it like mad, just like lost the emotion that she was in. And I was just felt like an idiot, because I was like, she was there, all I had to do was just say something like, like, your baby's dead, this thing wants your baby, react something for her to react to, rather than like a technical detail that she needed to perform,
like say, hey, stop, and then like messing up that momentum.
Yeah, so she's in a zone, and it's just like, why would I ruin that? And I felt like an idiot. It was a good learning moment for me, because I'm just like, and that happened on Z a couple times with another actor that I won't talk about, but just I didn't know his process and he didn't know mine, and it was just a clash of ideals that was kind of messy.
Oh, okay.
Damn. So what you do is you look at that scene and you just sit there and you have to feel what
is the emotion, what are you trying to get out of that scene? I mean, that was something that I learned on Stillborn. The DP and I would go through each scene, and as we were talking about how we wanted to shoot it, it would be like, what's the central emotion of this scene? It's like, oh, this scene, this character she's upset because of X, and it's just like, okay, so we really want to focus on that. She's upset about that thing, and she wants to figure out what that is. So, sorry, I'm shaking the table. So it's just, it's figuring out what is the motivation of the scene for the character. Because I mean, if there's a scene where there is no motivation, it's just like, what are they doing? And then just cut the scene. It doesn't need to be there. I mean, that's going to be something that's going to come out in editing anyways. Because you're just going to be like, why is this scene here? Why am I wasting this? It's gone. And it happens constantly, like Z, the script had like 185 scenes, and the movie has like 140, because you just go cut.
Right.
Because it's just, stuff is just like, you think it may, on the page, you're just like, this is super important. I need to get this character's detail and stuff. But so much of the stuff that you're getting from that scene being so explicit about the exposition, it's just like, oh, the performance that she had when she reacted to that moment early in the film gives you everything you need to know. So that whole scene is just redundant.
Right. Yeah. I feel like as somebody who's editing, not only like knows the script frontwards and backwards, but when you're editing it, you start to think like, do I really need this part in here?
Totally.
Even though I thought I did, I don't need it anymore.
Right.
Because you have to think about when you're editing a film, you're editing as somebody who hasn't seen it for ever, doesn't know the script.
Yeah.
You have to watch it as somebody who doesn't know your technical background, doesn't know what happened that day of there. They just know what's happening on screen, right?
Yeah, you don't. It doesn't matter that you spent 10 hours shooting a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. When you're when you're so proud of it, you're just like, oh, I spent so long on this.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was funny. My mom, there's a scene in Stillborn. It's one shot. It's they're having a security monitor installed. And there's a shot looking kind of from the POV of the security monitor past the technician screwing it in, and then at the two parents, and they're talking. And we had reshuffled some of the scenes so that they would work better. And then my mom, out of everyone, she goes, "Hey, there's a crib in the background there." And I was just like, "Oh man," because it used to be before she took down the crib, but now with the retooling thing, it was after.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had to go in, rotoscope the people,
good job,
paint
Mom.
the wall. Yeah, I know, and I mean, people would have noticed it because they would be like, "I thought she just took that down." It's such a big scene when she takes down that thing, and literally 30 seconds later, there it is again. And so I just never noticed it because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like you just don't see it. It's
you just don't see it because you're not thinking about it. You're thinking of so many technical things. You're not thinking about that.
That continuity will get you, but luckily you're a VFX artist, so you can take care of
something like that. What is the person who
I would just zoom in
continuity in the scripts?
Like a script supervisor.
Yeah.
Like we had that on Stillborn, and they're just kind of there to make sure. Oh, they grabbed that glass with this hand.
Yeah, so put it back in that.
Yeah,
with this hand.
Those things. We didn't have it on Z, and it was fine. There's some there's a couple things like wardrobe would be completely different from shot to shot. Like we would shoot part of a scene, come back a week later, and when I was editing, I was like, she's wearing a totally different outfit, and it's like I cut the scene, it's gone.
Oh, well, it's not as bad as Game of Thrones with the Starbucks.
You couldn't just rotoscope it?
On Stillborn, there's a scene where in the middle of the night there's a power outage and she goes down the stairs and there's lightning and stuff. We shot, there's 3 shots. One, it dollies from the wall and she's walking with the baby. There's a lightning flash, and then it goes up to this like high chandelier shot.
Yeah.
And she's walking down, there's lightning flash, and then she's walking towards the back door. It's 3 separate shots, and they were shot on 3 separate nights, 3 weeks apart. So it was like week 1, week 2, week 3, 3, just to make this one little sequence. And the first one, she's wearing a night coat thing, or she's not wearing a night coat. She's just wearing a sweater. The third one, same thing, but on the second one, totally different shirt. And I'm just like, if you look at it, it looks terrible, but you're not looking for it. But like I had to like redraw around her body, go down as she's walking down the stairs holding a baby with lightning flashes, and like I'm painting it to match.
All the curveballs.
It's brutal. And
you learned a lot though.
Oh, I did, and it's great. It's good to learn, but it's so painful. It's literally a 5-second fix on when you're shooting, and
ends up being a 4-hour.
You can fix it in post. Okay.
And that's a surprise one where you're like, oh, I have to fix this in post.
Like you have to because you can't cut around it.
I can cut around. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And one thing I was gonna ask too, when you like pitch a movie to like, how do you get the money for it? Like, who do you go to? Like, is it angel investors or is it a big company or
is it self-funded?
And who does it?
Usually? The first film that I worked on was It Stands, It Stands Red, and that was mostly self-funded by Colin and Stu. And then as they were getting to post and stuff like that, they needed a little bit more money, and they sold off some equity of the film to someone else to come in to finish the film with them. But with Stillborn, that was all privately financed, and the way that we had done it was we were retaining 50% of the equity for us, and then 50% to the investors, and they would buy. The budget was $150,000, and they were, for $150,000, they bought 50% of the film. So we went. Colin Minahan kind of drove the raising on all that stuff. So he kind of went around, talked to a ton of different people, and he had enough contacts from doing other stuff that he kind of had people to talk to, and eventually we ended up getting like 12 people or something like that to put just small amounts in, like 10,000-15,000 bucks.
That's so tight.
And then we just raised that, and that combined with that tax rebate, that was another 30 grand. That paid for our post. So it was just like everybody, you know, taking a chance on us, and luckily it worked out. And all those people, they made money, and they wanted to come back for Z and Spiral and stuff like that. So it's always the hardest to raise for your first film, because it's like, well, who are you? Why am I going to give you money?
Yeah.
You know, to own something that I don't know if it'll be good. I don't know anything. It's like a huge risk. And so it's just, that's, once you've done it once and you can be like, oh no, I did this. You can see this.
Yeah.
100%, you know, it's 10 times easier.
Now the investors that buy half of about 50%, are they looking to make their money back through video on demand, sales, things like that, or merchandise streams?
There's different ways. I mean, there's things called MGs, which are called money guaranteed. It's when, say, a company X wants to buy your film and they're going to give you 50 grand for it, and then maybe they'll give you like 70% of gross money going forward after that. So you get 50 grand, and then they have to recoup that 50 grand from selling it, and they have to recoup all their marketing fees, and they have to recoup all the blah blah blah, and stuff like that. And that's where you basically, if that's your deal, that 50 grand is probably all you're going to see, because they're going to lie and do all the Hollywood math. That's going to change things.
Hollywood math.
I mean, with Latin America, on Stillborn, we sold it for, I think it was $130,000.
Wow,
so
that's so
which is huge.
That's so dope.
But it opened wide. Like, they opened in Mexico wide in like 100 screens. They opened in Colombia. It was like, on Box Office Mojo, it was The Avengers and then Stillborn. And, you know, it's just like,
That's crazy.
It was crazy. And it's making, you know, made over $1 million in Latin America. But I'll never see any of that, even though they didn't spend anything, you know? So it's just like,
but that's dope to know that.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's
So
dope.
tight.
I would still be super proud.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
good,
That's
man.
such a great accomplishment
was
to have,
awesome.
man.
It was great to see. It's just, but you're just like, so where's that money going?
Can
guys? There's got to be something
dude
there.
chilling.
Yeah, some dude's he's doing pretty well for
El
himself.
Chapo.
El Chapo. I want to talk about found footage films, because we had touched on it earlier. Would you ever make a found footage film?
It'd be tough. I mean, it's total clash of how I shoot, which is very kind of locked down and very kind of dolly driven. It's so it would be interesting. It'd be fun to try it. I do like, you'd probably move a lot faster because your setups aren't as precise. But I'm actually writing something that is kind of a mix of narrative and found footage. So I might be able to be tested on that. But you know, there's something to be said about being able to do found footage, because it's a pretty economical way to shoot a film, because it's just like, here, I'm just gonna point it, and there's a lot of creativity you can have there for scares and things like that. So I think it'd be interesting to try.
I love that shit. I think Cloverfield was the one that really made me happy. Like, because I thought it was gonna be corny. I was like, what is this corny ass movie?
Cloverfield is found footage? I still haven't seen it.
It's great.
Is it found footage?
Yeah.
I think I've seen
You haven't seen it?
I've seen 13 Lane or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Cloverfield Lane or something.
Cloverfield did. I didn't watch that, so
It's good. That was a separate movie that they tied it into Cloverfield after the fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All I know about Cloverfield is it was handheld. That's why everybody kept talking trash about it.
It was great.
They were like, "Oh, it's gonna make you nauseous."
No,
I
it's
like
cool.
that. I
Yeah.
like that.
I don't get motion.
Blair
sick
Witch
like that.
is my favorite found footage film of all time.
That one's amazing.
And that's because when I watched it when I was like 12 years old, man.
It seems so real.
It scarred me. I thought it was real.
Well, that's like you said, paranormal. It
Yeah.
seems so damn real because it's like right there.
Yeah, the thing about Blair Witch was it was kind of the first movie that used viral marketing for its benefit. Like, they put out fake news stories and stuff like that, and they were like, these kids died, this is real, these are artifacts that we found on the site, but we never saw these kids again. So the movie was built around this idea that this was real found footage. Like, no one had seen anything like it. So I saw a preview screening with my cousin Scott in Langley, BC, and we had to walk through a forested area to get to the theater for the midnight screening.
That's so tight, though.
And we were supposed to walk back at like 2 a.m. afterwards, but I was way too scared, so we called his dad. I was in the 8th grade. I was, I guess, 14 or something.
Yeah.
And I spent that whole night just in bed crying because I was so scared. I thought it was real. I had no idea.
Bro, first of all, no. I would never do that, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I've seen too many things go to movies to ever take the chance.
I do like when they do that, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like you just said, it
creates a mood and
Cannibal
an atmosphere
Holocaust
around
did
it.
that.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, that was a weird ass fucking movie.
Right.
But they said that all the crew couldn't say anything for like a year. Like they all had to just like make believe they disappeared.
Yeah, but they killed like turtles and stuff like that.
That's the thing.
There's
that
like
made me
this
sad.
animal rights abuses in that film.
That's a fucked up film.
That's a whole nother.
From,
I
like,
don't.
the
I haven't
60s
seen
or
that one
something.
yet.
But it's kind of the same thing. It's just like this expedition documentary filmmakers going out and filmed
A
found a cannibal tribe.
I like that film. What's it called? Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the original from like the 70s or 80s, but the one they did in like the 2000 or something.
Yeah.
I like House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil Rejects. I really like. I like those ones because they're just like, well, this is so fucking twisted.
Yeah,
I don't know why I like twisted.
Those
films,
are like
bro.
punk rock horror. If you're thinking about punk rock horror, you compare that to something I've done, it's totally different.
I like that.
Yeah,
what was Kevin Smith's movie? The Red
Tusk or Red State? Yeah,
Red
that was
State
dope.
was really good too.
I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, shout out to my dad.
I want to talk about what's on the horizon for Brandon Christensen.
Just writing right now. I'd like to shoot something here, even if I can't hit that threshold for the tax rebate. I'd just like to be able to go to bed in my own bed for once and shoot a film, and I mean, the way we've always done it is that we shot it in the summer when my kids aren't in school, which is cool, but it's tough because then your summer vacation is spent not around your kids, and it'd be nice to be able to spend that time with them. So. Right now, I'm writing something that I can hopefully shoot in Vegas.
A short or feature?
A feature. And so I would,
dope.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It's it'd be a small thing, but
hit us up. I'm a good PA.
Okay. Yeah, we will. Well, I can vouch for him.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say, what's the incentive of doing a feature-length film versus doing a short film that you can shop around and maybe like, because I've seen people take short films and then sell them to like a big studio, and then they make a big movie out of it. Like Napoleon Dynamite was a short film originally.
I think now that I've done features, it's like I don't want to go back to shorts. Do
you think it's like a going back kind of thing?
Kind of. I mean, I understand it, and I've talked to a bunch of managers and stuff like that, and they're like, like I've done 2 feature films that have been successful.
Yeah.
You'd think that they would be like, oh yeah, let's get you on a roster, blah blah blah. But they're just like, do you have any shorts or anything? It'd be because they can.
Damn.
It's just easy for them to be like, hey, studio, here's a 6-minute short of a concept. You can buy this concept right now, and then you got a filmmaker that's going to do it, and he's going to do the lights out thing. And it seems to be that was kind of the way that people were getting into the business like 10, 15 years ago, and then it stopped for a little while, and now it's kind of come back as that's happening again. And I'm just like. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool to do a short film and stuff like that, but I've done like 5 or something like that.
You like that challenge. That's
and features are just like, I don't know, there's just it's a huge accomplishment, a huge undertaking.
I think a feature is more also for yourself.
A little bit.
The features of your quality, that's like, to me, I'm like, well, I'll never touch this.
In the quality of your features?
Well, don't say
what?
That.
You mean the quality of your features?
Oh my God, stop correcting me.
It's a very masochistic thing to do to yourself because it's a crazy amount of work.
I'd imagine it's like an artist who's like, oh, I could go back to doing covers. Right. I like producing albums.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's not really a step back because you can experiment with shorts and stuff like that, but it's just like a rat race to get into that because you're not guaranteed anything. So you're going to spend money.
And you can also do it as a short to if you're not sure if it would do well as a feature. Yeah,
for sure. It's like a proof of concept, and people do that still where they want to raise film or funds, so they'll shoot a 5-minute shorter condensed version of this thing, so they can go, hey, investors, we want to do this but bigger, and that works a lot for a lot of people. So I mean, there's nothing bad about it, but it's just I've done 2 features now. I'm kind of just sort of that's where my head's at. I'd like to get into a series though. Like I've got a pilot I want to shoot.
Yeah,
I would like to just do it because it'd be
and
awesome.
With the pilot, like how many episodes do you need? You just need 1?
Yeah, when you shoot a pilot, it's just 1. I mean, ideally, you would just shoot everything. There's 9 episodes I could shoot, and I would just like to just do it. But
once they accept, you sell it to them.
I guess that's what I need to figure out is how that works because I don't know. That's why a lot of people do a pilot because it's going to be cheaper and you can sell the idea to people, and then
you get the money, and then you make the episodes.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of actors and comedians talk about pilot season.
Yeah,
when it's like they go out and act in 10 different projects. They don't know what's going to get picked up. By a network. Yeah.
And that's terrible. It's like, I mean, it's just like throwing shit at a wall,
Yeah.
And you hope something lands, and 99% of the time it doesn't. So it'd be, I mean, with all the streaming platforms and stuff like that, where Netflix drops everything all at once, it just would, it would be awesome to just go into a 100-day production and just create this entirely long 10-hour movie and make it into these episodes and just create this thing. That would be. And
that kind of makes me think about, well, what about doing a Netflix series, right? What do you know what goes on into submitting a show to Netflix? I mean, I know because somebody sent me a page from Netflix that has like requirements of how you must shoot a either a series, camera requirements or like editing and all that stuff.
I mean, they're creating their own content. They're bringing on people to do shows for them now. I mean, they'll still acquire films out of like Tribeca or Toronto and things like that. They're still buying films, but a lot of these shows they're producing themselves. Like they're financing them for like Mindhunter and stuff like that. Those were always Netflix exclusives. It
comes out of the $12.99, $14.99 membership that people pay for every month.
Yeah. Across the world. So it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, it's a whole kind of a new paradigm that's happening with all that stuff. And now you've got Apple and you've got Disney and they've all got their streaming things. And there's so many avenues for it where the amount of eyeballs that you're getting is getting smaller and smaller because there's so many niches that are just being created and formed. You've got Shudder, which has kind of been where like Stillborn really thrived in the US because it just, it was just people, it kind of went viral on there and people were watching it and watching it again and stuff like that. So it's tough. I mean, it's just, it's always a hustle. I mean, no matter where you are, you can be at the top of the ladder. That Christopher McQuarrie guy, the guy that did like Mission Impossible and Jack Reacher and stuff like that, he just put up a long tweet string just talking about how he never wanted to be an action director. He doesn't feel like he's made it, and that's just the thing.
Damn,
you'll never
that's crazy.
You'll never feel like you made it because you've always seen people that are doing stuff that you want to do.
That's that imposter syndrome, bro.
Yeah, and you're just trying to work harder to get to that level, and you get to that level, and you see, oh, well, this person's doing this, and you're kind of always pivoting the goal, and I think it's just that's part of the thing is in this business, you can't be complacent. You got to keep hustling and trying to get that, create bigger and bigger goals for yourself.
What would be the next genre you jump to if you had to?
I'd love to do a comedy.
Oh, hell yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yes.
What kind of comedy? Like slapstick, like
dark humor?
No, something
bad or more like
game night. You ever see that?
No.
It's Game Night
with like
Game
Jason
Night.
Bateman.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's like a date night kind of.
Yeah, but it's just the script is really tight. The actors are great. It's not like a Judd
like
Apatow.
Blockers.
I didn't see it, but I heard it's very similar. But it's actually really well directed and everything. Like the camera moves are important and stuff like that to the story, and it helps. It's like Edgar Wright, what he does. Like when he shoots Scott Pilgrim or something like that. The camera's
such a good.
Yeah, it's so like
he's dope.
everything is the humor comes out of everything, not just like a bunch of Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen.
So like a zoom of the lens or something.
Totally, like the way you shoot it is part of the joke, and that I think would be really fun to play with. But yeah, I mean, comedy's tough because there's no market for no-name actors in a comedy. Like, with horror, you can have people that no one really knows, but if the scares are effective,
damn, that's true.
It doesn't matter.
I never thought about that.
That's great.
When you look for a comedy, you're kind of like, well, where's
I like Jason
Seth
Bateman.
Rogen? Yeah, where's The Rock?
I think one day would be the dopest thing is be like Adam Sandler. Like, just have his production and his money. I mean, he could literally just do whatever he wants.
He's just like, I want to go to Spain. Let's write a movie in Spain, and we'll just spend a year there.
Yeah, I got $150 million. Let's go.
He did a deal with Netflix, right?
Yeah, he had like a 6-movie deal or something.
Yeah, that last one that came out, it was good. The murder mystery one.
It was fun.
I was surprised.
Wait,
was
that
this a Netflix movie? Like,
yeah, it was Netflix.
Which one was it?
This is like a murder mystery. They're on a boat.
Spade?
No,
I don't think he's in it. No,
it was him. What was it called?
I forgot the lady that was in there. Was it
I don't know.
The girl from Friends, what's her name?
Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah,
it's really funny. I mean, I've not liked many of his films that have gone up on Netflix, but that one's pretty legit.
Bro, I love Adam Sandler growing up. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't matter how bad of a movie he makes now. I will always be a fan.
It was like
you grew up watching
Austin Powers
Waterboy
and stuff
Happy
though
Gilmore.
too. Like Austin Powers is forever gonna be a funny movie to me because I used to watch it so much.
I just watched Goldmember again for the first time in 10 years.
Stupid.
Have you seen Goldmember from Austin Powers?
Yeah.
I got in a smelting accident.
And like Jack Black and all them. I don't know. I could vibe with those guys so much.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Black. Who is somebody you would like to work with in the industry that you would like to make happen in the next, let's say, 5 years?
I'd like to work with Damon Lindelof.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of his from Lost and The Leftovers, and now he's got Watchmen that's going.
Yeah. He's a great actor. In the
right, he's a writer.
Oh, he's a writer. I thought you were
that
talking about the main actor in The Leftovers. Oh, what's his name?
Justin Theroux.
That's what I'm thinking about now.
He's great. He's a writer too. But Damon Lindelof's the showrunner on like the Watchmen and The Leftovers and stuff like that.
Dude, I'm so pissed off that they canceled Leftovers.
They didn't really cancel it. They just let it finish. It was great. 3 seasons was
You see that?
I don't know, man.
It didn't need more. I
felt like I could have gotten another season, man.
After season 2, even, it was like, if they didn't come back, I was happy because it ended so well. And then they just one up themselves.
Yeah, it's a great show.
I was pretty happy with that.
I just wanted one more.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're at the hour and a half mark, man. Do you want to let people know where they can find you online? Instagram, Vimeo, website. We'll put everything.
Instagram's kind of the main thing. It's just the Brandon Christensen, TheBrandonChristensen. Very long.
No, man. Yep. We're going to put all your links in the description down below for iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and all that good stuff. We appreciate you coming on and joining us on the Morning Dinner podcast. Man.
No problem. It was fun.
And man, we'll have to see where you're at next year and what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to watch Z tonight.
Yeah,
do it.
And everybody tuning in, thank you guys for catching us on the Morning Dinner. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thanks.
Thank y'all.
Every time I come in the kitchen, you in the kitchen, in the goddamn refrigerator.
I sure am hungry.
That was our longest episode by far
this year,
guys. Thank you guys for rocking with us all the way. If you made it all the way to this part of the video, don't forget to
subscribe
and then
like.
And then drop a comment, guys. Let us know if you dug this episode. As we said, this is the last episode of the month of October. And man, episode 81. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys in the next Morning Dinner.
We love y'all.